A match point now as well. We'll see if they will be able to take this one, or if Applied Totem will be able to turn things around. It just wasn't the best, I will say, from Mortis. I don't know if this is a bit of a mispick. It did not work out at all. I don't think he was necessarily playing terrible, but the Ollie just had him in a match point now as well. We'll see if they will be able to take this one, or if Applied Totem will be able to turn things around. Get those stars over his head going up and up and up and up. So changes have to be made for Applied Totem, or game's going to be over. I mean, Berry is not looking good there.
And once again, going to be resetting here. It's going to be a one-game lead in this set for Eclipsar Esport. Going to be trying to work through this and see what all we can muster. For now, though, going to have to exit here for a moment while we try and figure things out in game. This is a big moment for Applied Totem, though. Definitely a tough one. Would certainly be a shame to see them with an early exit here, but honestly, it's been kind of cool to see this storyline develop at ECP. I mean, obviously, this is a little more personal. This would be 3-0 against this team this year if they end up winning this, but I mean, definitely a disappointment here if Totem drop this.
Yeah, it really will be. I mean, you know, a lot of people will have expected ECP to come in and win this. We saw it was 52% in favour of them. But I think you've got to look at it, regardless of how many times they've beaten Reply Totem. You look at the Totem players and you expect them to be able to win this one. Hypercharge available from Berry as we get back into the game now, and ECP still in the back line. Slow goes through, not going to find any connections. Angel Boy getting healthy and waiting to go in here. They're very low, so being literally one shot. And now Angel Boy dashes in, tries to get the super. Gree behind them though, and the heal's not there in time. 45 seconds. Moves have to be made.
Definitely. I mean, 3 stars being a separator. Little over 30 seconds to go, and that gadget perfectly connecting to Maru. A nice shot. Marco tapping right now. Hypercharge goes down. Mari falls alongside it, and Maru and Angel Boy have to recover. And this is ECP getting aggressive now. B pursuing these kills, landing the taps. Ollie there to defend, and another Hypnosis goes through. The double now with another super in the mix as well. Maru trying to get Marco down, but it's not going to be enough. Tough call here. 5 stars to go. That's the number Totem needs. That's 2 on the top right, but everybody else down on the bottom. A slide through from Mari, trying to close out. Angel Boy has to get aggressive here. They need these kills. Low HP for Maru. It's a trade on both sides, but a 1-star hold for ECP, and the streak continues. ECP, hold on.
I mean, that was so close, but Eclipsar managed to do it. They take it all. Really nice stuff from them. I mean, what a performance that was. Genuinely, such strong stuff. And you can see he's not quite believing in himself. He looks very happy. Moving on to the semi-finals. I mean, that is just incredible from ECP there. Reply Totem had the chances and just didn't take them.
You know, that was almost tough to watch. I would hope for Reply Totem to come back stronger very soon, hopefully next month already. At the same time, I'm super happy to see Eclipsar move on out of the quarterfinals for their very first time. Layer Cake was Totem's last chance, and you two guys, you both voted that this is going to be a 3-1 for Totem. It was a 3-1, so you were half correct, I guess, Trev.
I mean, technically, I think that's even further away from half correct, right? It's just the complete opposite way. But yeah, I mean, yeah, the ECP definitely deserved it. Reply Totem just didn't bring their A game, and you know, if you're asking me, changes have to be made. They didn't qualify for the first month. They've been beaten by Eclipsar 3 times in a row now, and been knocked out in the quarterfinals the second month. So for these caliber of players, they should be way higher up this leaderboard than they are. They should be getting to the semis, to the finals, and I'm not sure if it's an issue with the synergy, an issue with you know these guys' mechanics, if they're just lacking behind. But in my eyes, it's got to be changed.
It is almost poetic, though. The Italian orc Reply Totem that has a huge history in Brawl Stars, now beaten by 3 Italian players over and over again. And we're just waiting for Totem to finally crack the code against Eclipsar. They are moving on to the semi-finals now, though. Let's have a quick look at the bracket, because I also want to point out here, we have 3 new teams this month in EMEA. It's a region where everything can change. It's such a competitive region that there's more than just 8 teams that can make it into the monthly finals. And of those 3 teams, namely Totem, Reverso, and Experian, 2 of them are already out, Kenny.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's safe to say that Experian is going to be a massive underdog here into the 2023 World Champs. I mean, Foot Esports looked pretty good to me last month. They definitely had a little bit of a rocky road, but like you mentioned, EMEA is a competitive region. ECP, a team like them, really proving their worth here, and Experian made magic happen in that lower bracket in the qualifiers to get here. Maybe they can do it for one more.
Fumble versus Eclipsar is going to be the semi-final number 1. How do you feel is that going to go?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know now. Sonny, I don't know. like I don't know what to predict with Eclipse are at the moment. Like honestly, they surprised me with a win there, regardless of how many times they've beaten Reply Totem. It still never ceased to amaze me that they managed to just do it another time. So you've kind of got to go with Humble, I feel like, but I feel a little bit stupid about my predictions now. So
if Trev, our prediction master, doesn't even know, I don't know anymore either. What I do know, the MVP of the last match, voted by you guys at home, every one of you, was Marco. So congrats to him. He not only moved on into the semifinals, he also earned the title of the match MVP. We're going to talk a bit more about the semifinal number 1 much later. First, we want to talk about Foot Esports versus Experian NXT. It's going to be the match that we're watching right after this quick break. Welcome back to the EMEA March Monthly Finals. Ark is back with us again as well. We're going to catch up with Trev a little later. I'm sure you watched that match, Ark, and I think you're quite upset.
I'm absolutely livid, honestly. I mean, many people on Twitter asked me, why not starting with Eclipse are? They got the score lines against Reply Totem. I was like, well, looking at the stats, these are the game modes that they might be able to excel in. It didn't work. I was screaming at my monitor when they didn't pick Mr. P into the B and they went more. I have so many questions. I'm angry.
I just have an image in my head right now of you screaming at your screen. It's very funny. I'll try to keep the laughter down though. For now, we're heading already into our third quarter final. The first two were pretty quick, 3-0 and 3-1. Now, Kenny, is this shaping up to be another?
I'm nervous. You gave me partial credit on the last one. I don't give myself partial credit. That was a miss out of me as well. I missed just like everybody else. Look, the people at home are right. I think this time though, and I got to stay confident, but this feels like a Foot Esports should win pretty convincingly. I think Foot, one of the better teams in this region coming into the year. I have high expectations for this team as one of the world contender spots in this region. Garo, Meow, and Naui, all fantastic players, but you never know.
Foot had the winner of the February monthly final, SK Gaming, on the back foot, but they kind of fumbled the ball. They got reverse swept, and we wanted to talk with Noe about this.
Besides screaming, we are talking to each other about the drafts every night. We are preparing for quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals. In this meta, my favorite brawler so far is Hank because of his hypercharge. We thank to every single fan for cheering us in monthly finals, in every tournament, and we are grateful for having us.
As I mentioned already, Ark, it wasn't really their month last month. They got reverse swept by SK Gaming. What happened there?
I mean, lack of composure, and we've seen this as well last year from what was then the Zeta Division squad getting reverse swept and 3-2 scorelines in grand finals. It was always the case where they had this curse: if they didn't get through the quarterfinals, they would win the whole thing, right? And 3-2s were pretty much the same kind of story that we see with Humble and not being able to secure themselves and lock in for those grand final stages. Against SK, it was so close, but they just lost that composure and they crumbled after that.
It really seemed that way. On the other corner of this brawl, we have Experian NXT, the third team, as I mentioned before, that is playing in this monthly final for the first time. And I'm really eager to see how they will do, Kenny.
Definitely an interesting one. I mean, they kind of made a miracle happen. I don't think anybody really expected them to make it to this spot, and they're fortunately the reason why somebody like Team Heretics isn't here right now. Major upset, 3-2 victory in that lower bracket to secure their spot. So I think this team has a point to prove. Definitely want to rep the name well, and I'm looking forward to see what they do. I mean, some of these guys have played in competition for a while here. Some are newer, so it's a good mix of players.
I have a little backed fun fact, maybe. Arthur, one of the players of this team, he texted me in September 24 that he will make it into the monthly final as soon as he's turning 16, which is the case now. He managed to do so he kept right. Ark, let's hear a little bit about Experian NXT and how they support the scene overall.
Yeah, so Experian NXT is like a joint project of Experian and the Esports Player Foundation, and it's great to bring some real fresh life to the scene and to be able to isolate the players that are really up and coming. I think that it was a huge storyline to be able to knock out Team Heretics in those qualifying stages. Double match point, one of the biggest upsets of the year thus far, and I play a lot with Arthur and Tex. They're great guys, really fantastic players. I think the story here for me and the key of the fact is that they've got INSO in their court, and INSO of course led Zeta Division to the World Championships of 2023 to raise the trophy. So having that knowledge of the Now Foot Esports squad, the strengths, their weaknesses, where you can kind of look to exploit them in that regard. So that's going to be an interesting development.
They're all very young, but they have a lot of experience in their back line, it seems. Kenny, is this going to be as close as maybe the quarterfinal 2 was supposed to be? Or is it going to be a sweep?
I mean, if I have to choose between a 3-0 and a 3-2, I'm leaning more towards a sweep, to be honest with you. And that's no disrespect to Experian, who obviously earned their spot here with a major upset. But for me, Foot Esport are a high caliber roster. One of the teams that, like I said, I expect to be a top 3 team in this region. So I'm going to go with my gut. My gut has been wrong for half the time today, but maybe it'll get up a little bit here and I'll gain a little confidence back. But nevertheless, it would be awesome to see this roster do well. Like I mentioned, definitely earn their spot. And I'm excited to see what they can do. I mean, it's going to be a real test.
You did mention before, though, they had a very good run through the monthly qualifiers. They did beat Team Heretics, Ark.
Yeah, that was for me the turning point in this squad. However, the qualifying stages that we've seen already today as well with certain teams that they don't necessarily always reflect the outcome. Having said that, the last set certainly did with Reply Totem. So, I think that it was a huge outcome. I think that Team Heretics, would probably look towards the draft as that being one of the reasons. So I think that for me, if they're going to have the upper hand here against Foot Esports, they're going to have to look to do that same thing via the draft, in my opinion. And we've seen that as well in East Asia already this month, where the teams that really took to the meta changes the fastest and were able to get some really unique ideas going for themselves were able to excel. So it's not out of the question here for Experian NXT. It is not going to be easy though, whatsoever.
What's very interesting here, INSO is the coach now of Experian and NXT, as you mentioned, Ark. He was the coach of those 3 that are now playing in Foot Esports in 2023 when they made it to World Finals. So he's drafting against his own old team, Kenny.
It's kind of a wild thought. I mean, honestly, guys got a world championship along with the 3 guys on the other side, and now kind of leading this fresher, newer roster. I mean, if there's a guy that you want on your side during a spot like this, I think Enzo is a good mentor to kind of have. I mean, 19, 18, and like you mentioned, we've got a 16-year-old guy that, opening year that you can debut in the BSC. So some professional training it early on for sure, but honestly, this is the real stuff. This is where big-time competition, and for all these guys, this will be the first major test. I mean, monthly qualifiers is one thing, and a team like ECP earlier proved that they deserved to be here and got the W, but if Experian did that here, I think it would be pretty massive for this region. It would really shake up leaderboards. I mean, like I said, Foot Esports are one of these teams competing for Brawl Cup. There's 2 spots in this region that they can gun for. A loss here would be devastating.
Heading into the draft now, Ark. What are we expecting on a map like Golden Guard, seeing it for the first time today?
Certainly, I think you've got to be really cautious in this meta, regardless of what you're thinking of picking and banning. You've got to make sure that you land the mark. I think, certainly brawlers like Hank are just a really big problem, and we already saw Naui discussing that as being one of his favorite brawlers, banned out there by Experian NXT. So good to see as well the Ollie and the Mandy. On the side of Foot Esports, the Mr. P ban, the Grey and the Brock. Good stuff to see really all round. They're the biggest heavy hitters for me, in all honesty. I think that Grey is certainly a big deterrent of throwers, so having that be banned does open up the possibility of some as well. And Juju is open. Sprout is also a good final kind of pick idea to float into the mix. But the wall break as well, whether you bring that in or not, I think it's quite key on this particular map too. So looking to see whether people go for that, and Tick as being that first thrower, definitely a good first pick to have, often banned in this instance, but it is quite susceptible to pick first.
Tick as a first overall is something I'm kind of still getting used to, but honestly, it makes so much sense. I mean, like you mentioned, even for a thrower, can be countered out, but on knockout in particular, I feel like the counterplay is a little trickier, especially given that it's 1 life per mode. Very interesting map, so I really don't mind Tick as a first overall here. A couple other brawlers that I'm definitely looking out for. Gene would have been one of them, but kit combos still show up a little bit. Sharpshooter Angelo, definitely in the mix here, especially with the Mandy banned out. But now that you see Tick as the first overall, might deter these guys from going sharpshooter so early, but I'm kind of curious to see what they pair with this Gene.
It's always a good solid pick. There's certainly a lot of options here with Angelo and Eve as well also. Consider having that additional thought through. Aggressive brawlers as well, we saw in East Asia yesterday, a lot of those ideas. There's the Juju as well, yeah, makes a lot of sense here. We saw yesterday in East Asia some of the kind of like Daryl ideas, which kind of didn't work necessarily all the time, but do have a place, some aggression for sure. I think RT as well, Pearl, those kind of brawlers I tend to sway a bit more towards, in all honesty. But there's time for that to be on either side of the field here. I think both can realistically work here. Angelo's always a strong brawler to have, but it's also a little bit risky as well. So it's just about how and when they choose that in the draft, if they do. But it's certainly quite a common thing to have here in this kind of environment. Gus is to pick up for Foot Esports. Gives a lot of options then with the shielding. I wouldn't mind having the Pearl have that in the final moments myself, but let's see what they're thinking in that regard. There's plenty of time left here to consider the final picks.
It's a lot of really good shouts from you. Gus definitely came to mind. RT was on my mind as well. I think just having somebody with decent range and a little in-game potential, always nice. So I think pairing that with, Tick, Gus, not necessarily somebody that I think can close out the game as easily. So I think I'm with you. I would like to see somebody here that has a little bit of more up-close personal capabilities, and that's what RT is going to bring. When he drops that super, he's going to be able to essentially become a Jackie-esque player. So if that gets into more close quarters, when that fog starts to close in, somebody like a Juju going to struggle with that. Somebody like a Gene not wanting to duel up close. So I think Experian have to find a way to address that.
I'm liking the draft for esports. They've got the good control. They're lacking a bit of aggression on the side of Experian NXT, but it is quite a daring approach to really coming in the first set and go all guns blazing. Sprout, yeah, final pick. I mentioned it coming in as it could be, especially when you can see the big picture. I think it's the safest time to pick Sprout. I think if you pick it any time prior to that last final pick, when you can see the whole board, you're really looking potentially towards a pretty strong counter of it. So not a bad spot, but double thrower is going to put esports in a difficult spot here. I actually quite like this from Experian NXT. I think they haven't really got the biggest advances for a heavy thrower counter. Maybe they didn't see this one coming. Maybe they thought when they saw the Juju that was going to be the only one that they were going to have to face, and now this might change things slightly.
Double thrower is the first thing I thought of too. I mean, we rarely see this in the BSC because it's so easy to be countered, but like you said, as a 6th overall pick, it's going to catch them off guard a little bit. They're actually going to send Garo to this right-hand in, which is pretty rare. Most of the time, you're going to see teams group together, move left-hand side. Looks like NXT also going to be on the left-hand in there. Little duel going down, and Tech's already looking weak to say the least. Gus now flanking, has the angles, looking for these long-range shots. Navi going to be left-hand in, and the Tick head going to destruct a little bit of this grass on the left-hand side, but for now, everybody remaining standing.
Yeah, tough situation with the spectate. We'll see if we can get that back as soon as possible, but a tough spot to find themselves in that back corner already, in a precarious position realistically here. Right in that top right-hand side are both Tex and Arthur there, and with the throwing of Meow over time, it will feed that Tick head. The gas now closing in as well. It's a very difficult spot to really. We'll see if we can get that back as soon as possible, but tough spot to find themselves in that back corner already, in a precarious position. Gas for Tex.
Good start for Foot Esports. 3 for 3. I think especially off the beginning, you just can't have a situation where Garo gets the flank on them. I think that's an issue, and now you're going to see them adjust to that. NXT going to be all on this right-hand side. They're going to group together. I just feel like with such a squishy combination of brawlers, Gene's got a little bit of beef, but, Juju, Sprout, they can be trampled pretty easily, so I think making sure that you're playing as a unit is a good call here.
Once again, the difficulties of being able to control this on the side of Experian already on those back lines, and Foot Esports are just kind of wasting their time out. I mean, it really is credit all to the favor of Foot Esports really here, who are doing a wonderful job of whistling down the HP, and look at this between Garo as well. Lovely stuff now. 2 versus 2, however, does give an opportunity for NXT, but I just don't see it happening. Arthur down to 200 HP. We'll go for a final pull. We're going to get nothing but the RT legs.
Little desperation grab. I mean, I think the writing was on the wall. There was not a lot they were going to be able to do there. So Foot pretty convincing to start game number 1. A lot of Brawl left to be played, but the previous world champions certainly meeting expectations so far. I think that's part of the risk you run with the comp that NXT have. I mean, this is a double thrower. You have Gene. These are all good brawlers, Arc, but to me, it can be a little tricky to make work at times. Granted that it's an RT and a Gus. Traditionally, you like having throwers that can lob shots over walls into these sharpshooters because they can't do the same, but especially towards in-game situations, you got something like the RT legs, which can stomp down. Gene's gonna have a hard time pulling that, so I do think Foot doing a pretty good job of handling this.
Yeah, they're looking like they're not being tested fully at the moment, and NXT's lack of experience in that regard, like going too quickly back on the defensive and just trying to, you need to try and hold your ground just a little bit better in this regard, but Arthur low HP there as well, and it's not the greatest of things. There's a shield for Garo here as well, if he wants to choose to use it. Yeah, just in the nick of time there onto Meow, and the last stand as well there, the shielding of the tick, he will fall down, making it 3 versus 2. This is the best chance Experian have had so far.
I think Garo knows it too. I mean, he's left-hand side, basically in the fog. Tex should have some easy follow-up shots, and that's exactly what happens. Na'Vi going to be on the bottom left-hand end and run off into the fog as well. Foot Esports do not believe they have this one. They're going to try and prevent the enemy team from gaining too many supers because they've got none, and now Experian NXT walking in with an advantage in this round number 2.
Okay, well, Tex using the invisibility, but then did show himself just a little bit there as well, so had to go back on himself. Now Amos is starting this top left-hand side as well. Hypercharge now for Amos as well, so if you can get a nice supportive wall down, it will definitely help Arthur push himself forward to get a magic hand connection onto someone and make it that 3 versus 2, which Experian are looking for here. A very important time for them to get this round, ideally get a game on the board and really even out this set. So let's see now, everyone's got the utility on the side of NXT as well. We're seeing supers available for everyone, so now really is the time to strike, and they've got to have the confidence now to do so.
Got a hypercharge available for Meow as well. Garo would certainly love a shield, though. That's something he's building up towards as Na'Vi has his super now. It's going to be Tex moving back. About half HP for Gene on this top right-hand side. They're going to drop Grigri on the ground right now. Hypercharge going out for Sprout. They have pinned Foot in this bottom left-hand side. There's nowhere to walk. They're going to need one final tag, and it's just enough. And now a 2v2. Garo dueling. Amos lobbing up shots. They have a shield available. This is exactly what Garo needed at the perfect time as well. Foot pick up the round and will even things out.
Oh, now a very tough spot for Experian. They can get the round they can survive on in this set, but for Esports now with such an important closure, that last round, might be able to just make this clean and whistle things over to the next one. Arthur needs to land this pull now, really. It is a crucial, essential time to do so. And if it is the RT of Naui, then they've got to ensure that the takedown is swift, because those legs will certainly pack a big punch. Nice eradication of the tick head there by the Juju onto Meow, so nice stuff. He'll have to earn that back now, but yeah, really all eyes are on Arthur here. They can go for Naui, but they've got to ensure that DPS is there to make that takedown swift. Ideally, they kind of want to go for the tick, don't they? But I mean, Meow's just going to sit as far back as he possibly can.
Yeah, I think intelligently played there. Some good jukes coming out of Garo on the top left-hand side, and they have to make sure that they erase all 8,700 health points from the RT pretty quickly if they go for that, so a little chip damage would certainly help if they went for that. The invisibility is something Tex continues to take advantage of. And in the closing moments here, Fog moving forward, Hypercharge going down. He's going to move that tick head as close as he can so those mines trap them in the back. There's nowhere to walk. So much damage that they even move a muscle, and it's enough for Foot to capitalize. Beautifully played there as Foot take the round and the game.
Yeah, such a crucial hypercharge, wasn't it, really, there? And that tick really was the man of the moment there for for esports. It was always going to be a really, really hard position to start things off for Experian. They certainly did gain a bit of confidence as the time went on. We saw them less in that back spawn area and kind of standing that middle fight better. But yeah, as a matter of time, it wasn't then for esports getting the momentum to get the sets secured.
I said it before today, if you're the underdog, you might have to try risky comps to surprise your opponents and through that win your matchup. Now, was it really just a draft, Kenny, or did Experian NXT have to change something overall to win here?
I mean, I think you bring up a good point, especially as big of an underdog as they are. I think it is kind of smart to try some different stuff. I mean, I don't know how much prep work they're putting into the double thrower, but when you look at the kill category, I mean, honestly, the mechanics from Foot just seem to be better. And in this mode in particular, especially, obviously kills are everything. 7 for Garo, a star player coming out of MEAA, just the amount of damage and chip damage you can do as a tick, really good. So great to see that your first overall pick is getting so much value. Not as much work to be done for Navi, but at the end of the day, it's still a good showing. But 0 for Sprout, who was your 6th pick. You hate to see that. 0 for Gene, who you never expect to be a top frag, but it's kind of just Juju doing the heavy lifting in the kill category there, which just unfortunately wasn't enough.
Yeah, Tech's doing what he can, but, you know, it's got to have a team effort realistically there. I wanted to see a bit more from Arthur with the magic hand. Really, that was a key turning point that could have happened. But, you know, credit to Foot Esports in that regard as well, to be able to put them in the position of making it a struggle to land a lot of the time. But yeah, that was the one connection that we kind of saw. And yeah, I mean, you couldn't really do much else in that position there. Just low HP, the last man standing. So, but it was more in that kind of like stage towards the end where I wanted to see that happen. But, you know, again, for Experian NXT, this is a very much a learning curve in the monthly finals, and for esports, they are pioneers in that regard, so they're always going to look more confident at the beginning.
You know, it reminded me a tiny little bit on the Eclipsar versus Totem match that we just saw. We saw Eclipsar kind of struggling in the first set, not winning the first game. In the second game, they looked a tiny bit stronger. And then in rounds 2, 3, and 4, they turned everything around. So maybe Experian also just needs some time to warm up to their opponents. On the other side, yes, we just are dealing with a very strong roster here in Foot, Kenny.
Yeah, I mean, now we move on to Ring of Fire. Look, you just got to put it behind you. Foot look like a more convincing team. I mean, just to flat out say it. But this is still early on. I mean, like we saw with ECP, you can always bounce back and, you know, get your footing a little bit. I think it's going to be tough, but I don't know. Like I said, I'm expecting this Foot roster to kind of run away with it to a degree, but these are the kind of moments that are building blocks for a roster that can help build towards your future. These guys are young, newer to competition. There's still hope for them yet.
Definitely so. I feel like in general, if you're playing in the monthly finals for the very first time, nobody expects you to move on into the semifinals right away, Ark. But if you do, it's an even bigger story.
Yeah, I'm looking for a huge upset here, to be fair. I think the draft wasn't a bad one either. That's obviously the first sign. Certainly some nerves, though, shining through in the early outsets of that knockout series. But maybe there's a better game mode still to come for them. But certainly for esports are going to take no prisoners. That's the problem. They're not going to give you second chances. They are just going to, you know, be a bit like that humble match we saw earlier today. Play with their food somewhat a little bit. And if they start to drop the ball, then they'll start to really kind of like up the gear and they take less chances. But they really do know how to kind of play with their opposition and their knowledge when it comes down to that prep process. Also, you know, having a huge team behind yourself as well. Not to say that Experian haven't, but you know they've got a great amount of attributes to their favour. But you know, for esports, certainly have got a little bit more, I would say, in our view.
In the end, it also all comes down to the meta that the teams are playing in usually. When Foot Esports still was Sata Division back in the day, like in the last few years, they had the strength to always kind of, even if they lost the first round, the first set, they can turn things around, learn how the opponents play, and then draft accordingly, draft exactly what their opponents wouldn't expect. And I wonder if maybe today Experian can show us here the same. They are very young. They all are still very motivated to learn the meta. And we didn't have that much time to learn the meta now since the 6 hyperchargers came out, the gadget changes. Maybe a young team has the best of chances in such a young meta.
It is a really interesting concept. I mean, in one hand, they're already underdogs in this situation, but it could be seen as an opportunity. I mean, we saw yesterday Shade become an exploit for a team like Zaya Division, and obviously a much more historic roster and things like that, different players, but nonetheless, maybe they got some new ideas. Maybe they'll show them something they haven't seen yet and it'll work. So I think to your point, Sonny, that's a really good call out. I mean, they could take advantage of all the fresh new bands and plays, and maybe they find a shade of their own, if you will.
Mark, what do you feel like could be another brawler in the current meta that maybe shows up as a surprise pick?
Ring of Fire's up next, and for me, I feel like we haven't really kind of seen the new Rosa strategy come through. I think that could be an opportunity in the draft for Experian to try and find a little glimmer of hope and have that be like a final pick kind of shock idea. Certainly, tank counters are very much up there in the drafting process, and everyone's looking to kind of establish at least something in their back pocket in the eventuality of that coming. And with Hank being so prevalent, that's the kind of problem that you can't really kind of swoop in with that idea too easily now. But for me as well, since the gadget cooldowns have become so prominent now, Rose's ability to grow the bush in the middle of the map on this particular game mode is really quite strong now. The cooldown is very, very quick, and it provides a great shielding of unpredictability for me. And we haven't really seen it be really experimented with too much now since the rework. So that would be a really cool thing to see. I think that if that were to be something which for esports hadn't prepared themselves for, it could be quite problematic. Grow Light is the gadget of choice for me on this map, 10-second cooldown, but it's quite a bold strategy to implement, and these pros will be running every eventuality running through that in their minds of that drafting process. So certainly, Rose is not the biggest of threats to be seen in this meta for me.
I actually love that call coming from you, Ark. Rosa hasn't been picked up a single time, but I've seen this threat played out so often, at least in my ranked games. I don't know how that fares on pro-level gameplay here in the EMEA monthly finals. What we have talked about very often is his poker strategies. He has been banned out fairly often, but not picked up whenever he was open. I think he's just still very map specific, and Kenny on a map like Ring of Fire, on Hot Zone in general, he could be a good pick. Banned out though once again.
Yeah, I had 4 brawlers written down in the ban stage. Hank, Poco, Barry, Ollie. And Hank, Poco, Barry on that right-hand side, no Ollie, so that's somewhere that I'm definitely looking. I think the other bans are obviously great shouts, though. Lou has frequently been a first overall or early pick on this map. And for Ring of Fire and Hot Zone especially, it just makes so much sense. You do a really good job at shutting down enemy tanks, and also his ice rink can cover the entire Hot Zone, so if a team dares step on it, they're going to get frozen to be skating. Belle, the first overall pick, though, this is one of those old-timey, dependable brawlers. She is consistently a top 20 pick in our pro scene, and it's never the maybe best option, but it's always a safe one. And if you have that first overall pick, sometimes you're just looking for safety. You don't want to be hard countered in your opening pick.
So I had another brawler written down, Kenny, Meeple, and I'm surprised it wasn't picked up by Experian here, because it really can open up the map massively so with the mansions of Meeple gadgets being able to break open the bushy areas and also lock down either of the side lanes. So in a map and mode like this, I think it is really quite prevalent, and I would suggest the FUT Esports pick it up next, but maybe they won't. Maybe they want to take that risk. But certainly, I think there's better first pick brawlers than Byron, but they're probably looking to combine it with a tank potentially here. I don't know whether they're going to be doing that just yet. Stu made that for the third and final pick, but if they don't combine it, then I'm going to question that Byron pick a little bit.
Definitely leaves that door open. I'm with you. You definitely don't get as much value out of Byron if you're not pairing it. In EMEA in particular, frequently it is a Poco or Byron, so you have your support brawler, somebody that can heal, and I think Poco is more that go-to. That's why you're seeing him be in the ban stage for both sides. Barry's an option as well, but on this map in particular, you like Frank, Ash, and Draco if you're in this region. Those are the pairings that I've seen really often, especially in scrims and even with this team when they were practicing for this week. On the other end, they're going to pick up the Ollie. Ollie just makes too much sense. It's a hard one to leave on the table if you have the opportunity to pick it.
Now the question for FUT is, do they want to cancel out Ollie with a harder tank counter, or just go with a tank themselves and overthrow? Because Frank's available still here as well. That's always a big concern for me. Penny as well, I think, is another brawler which is not really spoken about too much, but for me, again, getting that turret early is the problem with Hot Zone, and sometimes that's the reason why many don't go for it. But once you've got it laid down, it's a massive problem to have to deal with if it's hypercharged even more so. Hey. But is it at the right time in the draft? That's the problem now. For esports are going to have to deviate away from their tank idea. They're going to have to go heavy counter or something that can at least burn down the bush. Stu can do it to some extent, but this is now a problem that might force for esports to deviate away from the plan. But hey, what a time to talk about it. Who would have thought? But is it going to work out? That's the problem now. I'm not so convinced at this stage in the draft. They needed the third and final pick.
Honestly, a great shout out to you. And like we were talking about before, sometimes you're an underdog. You just have to throw something at the wall and see if it sticks. This is a bold call. Doesn't mean it'll work, but at least they're trying something interesting. And along with this, since they go double tank, they have Byron on the other side, which is going to be a fine option. I mean, I think it's going to basically have to go against this Bell because it's just going to be able to do chip damage into the amount of health points that Rosa and Ollie have. So this kind of makes Foot Esports have to rethink their final pick. They're going to go Griff. That super is going to get a lot of splash damage, going to apply to so many different brawlers. So I'm curious to see if Experian NXT can win with this crazy comp. But nonetheless, good work, partner. That's a good shout out of you.
But I do worry, man, now, because, I mean, the Griff is a solid counter pick, and that's why I wouldn't suggest that strategy in that stage of the drafting process, because they can just really use the Griff to really seek and destroy within those bushes, and if they get the control, use the piggy bank gadget to break those bushes as well. So that's the problem, is that if you in that position, then those bushes mean nothing, and the Rose is essentially useless. So it kind of is a bit of a tough draft, in my opinion. Whether it works out or not at this stage, it's hard to say for Experian, but I would sway towards not. I think it had to be the Rosa final pick for me. That may have been enough to sway me, but I think the Griff is a very solid answer to it.
I think so too. I mean, for a wall break to disrupt those bushes, and you bring up a great point as well. I mean, just because we could see it being an option doesn't mean it should be the option. And in the scoreboard on the top left, we're kind of seeing that. That is a great point out of you, though, in the sense that Rosa is a 6-pick kind of brawler for me right now. I mean, with all the tank counters that we have in the meta between B, Lou, we've got so many different ways to shut down these brawlers, and Griff is probably not in the top of that list and still an option on this map. So I think if you don't have that as a 6 overall pick, you don't want to leave Rosa to have an answer. And I think that might be the issue they're running into. And so far, it's exactly what we're looking at. I mean, 100% almost to now 20%. Another runaway here for Foot Esports.
Yeah, that was
Griff
kind of what
is
I was
probably
fearing,
not in the top of that
fair.
list and
Not
still
to
an
say that maybe Experian can't find an angle here, but you know, if they lose control, then their entire concept of this comp crashes to the ground. No, they're really banking and putting so much on this Rosa idea working. And the Griff was a solid response. I was thinking maybe more something else, to be honest, as the counter, but I think the Griff makes a ton of sense. And also that early break leaves the Ollie exposed as well there as well, so not going to have any issues on that left-hand side either. So I think that for Esports have just done a cracking draft here. Already look at that control that they've been able to establish, and this is where the Rosa runs into problems. What can you do now with those cyclings of the Griff and the piggy bank? Again, yeah, exactly that. You know, it's the perfect brawler counter.
It's a really tough one here, and honestly, a good creative solution. And, you know, I love that they're getting bold with it, but ultimately, this one's a little crazy even for my liking. I think, unfortunately, even if Foot gets spawn trapped, one, they have a massive lead right now. It's going to be really hard to come back from this. And two, they can just keep pulling out these piggy banks, breaking up the walls, and get the long-range shots. That's something that Ollie and Rosa can't take advantage of. Bell really the only one that benefits from that. A skate away from Navi is some good work, and Foot just continuing to climb right now.
Yeah, tough stuff, really, for me from Experian. It was a nice idea, but I just think it was at the wrong time of the draft. And you know, you've got the cooldown of the Grow Light being 10 seconds. It's a very short cooldown, but again, when you've got the Griff being able to break so quickly, it's really kind of going to be a matter of time before Foot are able to retake here. But low HP, there's the super again, forcing, you know exactly where NXT are going to be. Nice take down the right-hand side. Arthur jumping in, trying to find some value from the hypnosis there as well, but it's Meow who stays standing here. These taps are going to land from Tex, and they do, but it's a huge deficit now for Experian to climb.
Damage may already be done. Garo, low HP, going to back away. Arthur, though, being chipped down by Navi. It's Rosa throwing punches. And it's a stone wall for now. Foot Esports not wavering, and it's now going to be a 2-set lead for the 2023 World Finals champs.
I like it, though. I do like it from Experian. You know, from a first-timer, monthly final team, I think that these are the ideas that can work. And it's like those kind of moments that I look for in a team in terms of their knowledge going forwards and how they're going to fare. But just the wrong coin toss. You know, you can't risk it.
I mean, I love that little moment in the draft that we just had, Ark. You just talked about the Rosa Gatchup being so good in the game right now with just a 10-second cooldown. And then Foot Esports just kind of had the perfect idea to counter that. With a 16-second cooldown, it's not quite as short as Rosa Gatchup, but for every single time almost put down one of his bushes, there was an answer from the Griff, from Meow on the other side. Of course, also a huge cycle over at the other side. Against 2 tanks, you will have so many Griff ults ready. It's the perfect tank counter here, Kenny.
I mean, they had such a dominant set, they had trouble declaring one-star player. They had to give it to Porgero, the only one that didn't get any love there. Absolutely nuts to look at all that DPS that's going down, and that's just part of it when you're facing down 2 tanks. I'm with you guys. I think you have to be a little bold. I respect the decision, but like Ark said, that's not the coin toss that you can pull that off on a different direction or a backup plan. It's not admitting defeat, if you will. I mean, they're trying something new, but I feel like they didn't give themselves much of a fighting chance. I think I would have changed that if I could. Obviously, hindsight's 2020, but yeah, I didn't love it.
We're gonna head over to last stop now, and it might also be the last chance for Experian NXT. Again, 3 very young players, new players into the scene, and they already qualified for a monthly final, so they can still be very proud of themselves for even just making it here. But we still want to see them at least take one set, Ark, right?
Yeah, hopefully so. I mean, but again, time is dwindling down quite quickly, and this might not be the place for it. For esports haven't been tested yet, in my opinion. They've looked really, really comfortable. Their drafting has been on point, and for a team that again got reverse swept last month by SK Gaming, you do have to consider that it's going to be playing on their minds somewhat. And imagine being reverse swept by SK Gaming and then coming into the next month and then losing to an underdog story team that have come in for their first monthly final. They've got to ensure that they start to change their old ways, and this is the time to tighten up, in my opinion. So the gem grab, I feel like that's going to be very much the same story, taking no chances and taking no prisoners.
Once again, I want to remind us that we have 3 new teams in this EMEA monthly final. We had Reverse and Totem already for the first time in the monthly finals this year, and now Experian is kind of the last hope for those new underdog teams. So let's see if they can at least take one set here. Let's see if they have another great and outrageous idea, honestly, for this draft, Kenny.
Yeah, I'm gonna start consulting Ark for some crazy theories, because Lord knows I need help with the draft in my ranked game, so maybe I need to be whipping out the Rosa and things like that too. We'll see what they end up banning here. Already an insta-lock of the Gene. Honestly, Sonny, I don't really mind that.
I do like the Gene idea. Last stop also a map with a lot of bushes or with the gear that makes your opponents visible. It's always a great choice. And also now here for Frit Esports could be the Mr. P fit. They didn't ban him out themselves. Maybe an Eve is going to come in, anything that takes advantage of the slow reload speed of Gene. Or
Certainly mid brawlers can be held off on a little bit here by Frit Esports if they wish, but I think Gus here would be a great choice. Lola is a fantastic lane, but Griff also is available, so that's a good idea to sort of play into the same story for me. But bans are looking solid for me all round, really. Janet, I'm always looking for. Mr. P's a must. Ollie and Hank really are in this meta must bans. But having a solid mid. I mean, AP I don't mind, but it's a bit risky to sort of see the full story before you consider it. Stu going to come in for that aggression on the side of Frit Esports, and it's quite a versatile brawler to play both sides of the map. So Speed Zone certainly is a very strong gadget to have to be able to evade in that mid area. Dalston get the gem stance back out again. Otis coming in for Experian now, and I don't know whether I'm massively sold on it. I think I prefer the Meeple myself, honestly, but many players like it. The Fat Splatter, of course, on those lane sides can get some good results.
Otis does show up a good bit here, especially in EMEA. I think the Meeple call on this map in particular can be a really fun one. And going back to that left-hand side, Stu's a brawler that I almost anticipate super early on. I think Gene's obviously an option as that first overall pick, but Stu's just so flexible, and having that speed zone, especially if you can keep it up for as long as you have, you basically cycle another speed zone by the time your speed zone decays naturally. So I don't hate that at all. Piper, an interesting choice here. It's not that I never see it, it's just into the G. You don't necessarily love that matchup, but where I do particularly like it is into the Meeple. If you can keep the distance, and depending on the gadget choice that Arthur, whoever ends up
I love Piper so much, and the reality is it's just not very good at retaking a scenario. Already an immediate wall break from the Meeple. That's, again, my favorite brawler on the side of the Experian comp here. Gene's always, I do like that, and that's the thing with esports. If they just hold control and never lose in the first place, they haven't got to worry about getting back out of the mid. They can break their own walls as well if they need to on the way back after having already established that aggressive wall break. So the next one I'm looking for from now is probably going to be where he's situated right now.
That's what I was kind of getting at with the Piper. In that one-on-one situation with Meeple, it's a couple taps away from the long distance and you're good. It's one connection and a gadget, and Meeple not going to necessarily be able to keep up, especially if all the wall break continues to go down. Lola holding down this right-hand lane, and Garo just skating across the map, can do whatever he wants, and having that speed zone also helps them maintain these gyms just a little bit better.
Nice taps from Naui, continuing on. Amos doing his best to evade it pretty well there as well, but the ego of Meow is looking to find and seek and destroy that. 5 gems to 3 in favor of Foot Esports now, and already so much of the map being just hated to their advantage as well, and really little that Experian can do to dance around it. Now the Meeple super down though, however, a chance to put Foot on the first time of this match on the back foot.
An interesting.
Bye-bye.
No! Nice open. Nice open.
Nice.
I think this is a tricky one. If I had to guess, I would probably say B 12%, but I'm not really 100% sure. Okay. I think I would probably go for C, 4 2/3 tiles. Okay. Let's see, Deadly Dagger can be used. Probably A makes the most sense to me. Deadly Daggers. Let's say maybe B.
Yeah, and I was going to say, it's not unfortunate that we lost Kenny because you've gained me, but you recovered it. You recovered it. I don't pull that face either because I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it at all.
I want to.
Game though. That last game, it was convincing. Sticking to the Brawl Stars topic that we should be on rather than how great I am. The last game was a good one. For Foot.
The last game was a great one, even better than Trev. As in the monthly finals this year in EMEA, and all 3 of them are out now. We have 2 teams that have already played in the last monthly final. But with Team Electros, there have been so much going on. Rama already played on Team Electros last month. Nob and Mebius played with FA Kuzaki. Both lost in a 3-2 series, so they now joined forces and are playing together again.
Yeah, it's a bit strange to me, a little bit, because it was a very convincing scoreline against Foot Esports. 2-3, that's nothing to grumble at. And they just switched the roster. But it makes a lot of sense when you consider the history of Mavis. I mean, this is going back to the VNE Sporting days, really, and Team Electros was that rebrand of VNE Sporting, so it's going back in a bit of a time capsule. I love it.
We also want to hear from Rama how they might be doing today.
It has to be SK because it's our first round, it's pretty obvious. But new meta, new rules, so we hope we can beat them. And we're gonna aim for winning monthly finals. I think it will be better because in 2023 we had no experience and now everyone make their achievements. So we have more experience and we have synergy, so I hope only winning this month. I think it has to be Jhin. I like this new meta with gadgets, infinity gadgets. With Jhin, it's like too broken sometimes.
Oh wow, his former teammates, Trev. It's been 17 months since these players have played together.
Yeah, it's been a while, but I'm honestly pretty pleased that they have done, because it was a relatively successful roster. You know, we saw them competing in SBS a lot, in BSC, and I actually like them playing play. And, you know, you'd have expected over the past 17 months that they've developed as players. So if they can return to that form of synergy and play as well as they had done together, then, you know, they're going to be in a good spot this year, I feel.
Number Mebius have played with another roster last month. They have also played in a monthly finals though. So all three of them have already gasped some air here in the monthly finals arc. Do you feel like they...
It's a really tough call, because in the past I would have said yes, but that was simply because they've spent a lot of time in that roster, and they were looking so good. It was 2023, I believe it was, and you know, they haven't been together for a while, so it's going to, obviously with any roster like that, coming back together, it's going to take a little bit of time, let's be honest. If they can, I mean, it'll be the biggest upset of the storyline so far in this region.
We talked a bit about how SK reverse swept Foot Esports in the last monthly finals. Trev, what went down there?
I mean, they just, like, SK Gaming, just a very, very strong team. This is the thing, like, you know, I think a lot of people expected them to come in and win after their Champions Invitational performance. We kind of expected SK Gaming to come in, do really well. A little bit more resistance, though, I feel they felt than they were maybe expecting.
So first they reverse sweep Foot Esports in the semi-finals, absolute sweep 3-0. And now in the losers bracket of the monthly qualifiers arc, how did they even land there? And
yeah, double match point against Eclipsar was not what I think many expected to see after what was a really clean monthly finals of qualifying through February. They actually beat Eclipsar 3-0 in that scoreline there as well. And you know, coming to the monthly finals, you know, game loss, you know, reverse sweeping for esports, big expectations, and then to lose that match in the upper bracket. But it was a pretty clean approach in the lower brackets. It was I say it was clean. It was a 3-2 scoreline, so it was a close match against LLC Esport. But nonetheless, they were able to secure things and make the monthly final, because, yeah, that would have been definitely quite a difficult position to find themselves in had they not.
I mean, we'd have had even more upsets in the qualifiers than we already had if that had happened as well, and even more teams that we're not so familiar with as well. So I'd have been pretty open to it, but for SK Gaming to have gone off the back of doing so well in that first monthly finals to then not qualifying would have been a night and day difference that I'm sure a lot of the public and themselves wouldn't have been ready for.
in terms of our predictions, we all said SK should take this one. Team Electros has a fighting chance though, I believe. We're going to start out with Pit Stop, our heist map to begin with. Do you feel like they can come up with something here, Arc, to even beat the February monthly final champions?
We saw this map play out in these stages yesterday, and some interesting ideas with Shay coming into the mix. I'm not sure whether I will see that in this region. I don't think it's really whistled down. I think for me, better to see that kind of brawler in maybe Brawl Ball, and then maybe not even much else other than that. We saw it in Hard Rock Mine, but it's certainly a map where we haven't really kind of seen it in the rotation for a while, and therefore can bring some unexpected brawlers to the surface. Team Electros is going to have to be, I think at the moment, SK have had plenty of time to kind of put their qualifying demons to rest, I believe, and I think they're going to be pretty much hitting the ground running like they were last month. I think the experience and the composure which they have is pretty much unmatched at this point, maybe just a humble, and that's the kind of grand finals that I'm anticipating this month. But that's not to say that an upset can't be the case. It's got to start with the first set, and that will be Pit Stop, so this is a chance and an opportunity advantage.
I personally think that Pit Stop's a great place for them to start, to be honest with you. It's a bit more of a unfamiliar, less kind of locked down map for a lot of the teams. Obviously, it's been quite a while since we've had it in competitive. And not only that, but a lot of different kind of ways you can play it, which makes it a little bit more unpredictable than the majority of other heist maps and definitely other game modes. So, we'll see if Team Electros are going to come out swinging, or if SK Gaming, win. The majority of people, I'm sure, think they will.
mean, surely I'm not the only one that reads the name Pit Stop and immediately thinks of Bull here. Now the meta has switched a tiny little bit ever since back then. We see a lot of throwers now. Juju, Barley both found their way into this map. Even Mark already mentioned before, yesterday, we had a completely new idea with the Shade. There's a lot of tanks now that are not Bull. And they will hurt the throwers quite badly if somebody dares to pick them up.
Yeah, and the thing as well for me for SK is their scrim rates are just doing so well at the moment. They've been scrimming a ton, more so than pretty much every other team, and the percentage as well between themselves and this very team is in their favor as well. It's looking to me, at least on paper, like SK Gaming should win this. I mean, like, for example, it was like an 85% against Reply Totem in their scrims. That's huge. Again, Reply Totem struggling against one particular team, but I mean, generally across the board, they were only down to Team Heretics, which is kind of an interesting result to see because Team Heretics obviously didn't make the monthly finals, but that's the only team that they're really struggling against in those scrims. I think that when you come that prepared, that's got to be taken into account here. And for SK, certainly last month's results, that sweep in the grand finals against Humble, yeah, 92%. I mean, that's what you kind of expect when you come into the month following a monthly finals win. Definitely, though, with that comes a little bit of an expectation, and that can cause a little bit more stress and some potential nerves at play. But I don't think we're going to see that from SK Gaming. They're pretty good at putting those nerves to rest.
Yeah, I mean, SK are a team that very rarely I feel like they've got a huge kind of stigma around them for never really feeling the pressure. And a lot of the times, even when they're 2 sets down, you kind of like, okay, if they're the better team in the situation, you expect them to be able to get 3 in a row and come back without really putting too much thought into it. So I do feel like SK Gaming, pretty heavy favourites, and so does the public clearly with 92%. But Team Electros, I don't think we can write them off at all because they're 3 very capable players with a lot of experience in the Brawl Stars competitive scene.
I'm quite surprised to see a Dynamite being banned out here. Not something I had in my head right now, but in general, I think the meta still very much revolves around a lot of tanks. Yesterday we had a lot of Shade, Buzz, Draco, Frank on this map arc, so I do feel like we're going to see some...
Yeah, Charlie Bann's kind of wild for me, not going to lie. Not really too sure what that might be in aim for. Maybe, I mean, they banned the Buzz on the same side of things. They may be expecting some sort of tanky idea that something that can dive on the safe potentially. But yeah, definitely a bit of an odd ban for me. Picks coming through now. Carl, I quite like that one for me. I haven't really kind of seen Rico come back into Pit Stop yet, and kind of to my dismay, I really quite like that brawler. But that's one brawler that we did see quite a lot in the previous metas for this very map. And Luke combining with it, oh yeah, I like that from SK, having the bit of an insurance policy in the eventuality that we see tanks on the other side of the field as well. But BB, certainly, it's quite fast moving, depending upon the star power. And once on the safe, if you line up the bubble against the wall, that's where you can get a lot of value. But certainly, throwers are on the minds of Team Electros now. With BB on the field, they might be reconsidering. I mean, if you go with a Barley, sure, you can have like low that advance, but the hills are more approachable as well. So, it's a tough thing. Spike, very safe. Not sure it's my favorite thing, but on the safe, left untouched, yeah, sure, with the right gadget, popping pincushion, that can cause some damage.
Yeah, it seems like they're just moving away from the tanks after seeing that Lou being selected. I mean, there still is a chance of it coming down as the end of the world if you're against a Lou anyway, but if there's a few, then you're going to have a bit of a tough time. But yeah, that BB, so strong, and especially with Hypercharge as well, the bubbles can bounce, so many different directions considering how many walls there are and how many different angles there are to find it. But yeah, getting towards the safe with the speed, with the heals from the gadget, you can do so much. Cordelius can be brought in as a bit more of a defensive measure to mirror that Lou as well, so that SK Gaming don't just take tanks and walk over them. But personally, I wouldn't mind a thrower to round out this SK Gaming comp, just to deal with that spike. And yeah, Flying Hook might cause it a few issues. They're actually going to go the Shade as well, taking a bit of a note out of relief out of East Asia's book here and well yesterday, and I don't see why it wouldn't work.
I'll be honest, I didn't like it as much on this map as I did in Hard Rock Mine and then later on in those game modes as well. I felt like it worked better in Brawl and Gem Grab. for me, but I can see it working here onto the safe and just being able to get right up against the wall, really. Certainly a leaf out of East Asia's book, and the first that we've seen today, I was kind of curious after yesterday's show whether we would see some teams taking some ideas from there, and I'm glad to see it, honestly, because I loved that about East Asia in previous years. They were always like leading the path a little bit prior to draft with the brawler picks that many of the regions would then look to and then go, yeah, we're missing a trick, we need to revisit that idea. So definitely, not that's to say the least. I think Gilead's still a little bit on the fence. I'm very much for it.
Yeah, well,
I'm very much for it.
Yeah, when I saw Shade to start with, it was very much just like, oh, okay, a little bit of a hindrance. They're maybe not going to be able to do too much. They might make a few plays, but then it was kind of the top dog, the front-running player. So they're looking to try and replicate that Apex success with this brawler, and also they've got the mechanical skill to be able to do just that. So we'll see if Team Electros are going to be able to defend against it, because it's one of those brawlers that can play in the middle of the pack, can play up top, pretty much go everywhere. So SK Gaming did have a very, very solid comp, but with Carl, if you're not running the Flying Hawk, you can run this burn. It's going to be good against, the safe. It's going to be good against the opposing players. So we'll see if that's how it works out. But a great start from Team Electros so far.
Yeah, 50% damage dealt.
Electros so far.
Yeah, 50% damage dealt is going to be a concern for SK. Now they're forcing themselves forwards onto the safe, and that's going to be quite a scary prospect. OP just getting some swipes, gets a super as well. Nice lineup on that ball as well. It's going to get down to 66% now. Joker then going to get a good advance onto Rama here and does secure that trade. So now on the safe himself, getting more damage to his team. It's down to Yoshi now as well as OP to be able to defend this out.
Yeah, good little super there from Nob as well to be able to take Yoshi out of the equation, but not having the best of times against him, to be honest with you. It's a little close call on that one. The OP gets a nice knockback, but Mebius will survive. We should see them back in time to be able to stop this completion of the safe, and no super from Nob will mean Yoshi will have a bit of a better time defending.
Nob's playing great.
Better time defending.
Nob's playing great, and I think a lot of the reason why we're able to get so much damage onto the safe now from Team Electros. This should be the final seconds, final percentiles, and that will be first game going the way of Team Electros.
Yeah, I mean, they played it very well, to be honest with you. They just kind of had the. I mean, they played it very well, to be honest with you. They just kind of had the loop Hinden spawn, taken out the equation by the Cordelius a few times, and if they can replicate that, they're probably going to be able to win this set. But it did seem like Joker had a very firm hold on the spike back on the other side. So if they can just get maybe a bit of a better start and not be 50% down, then they'll be able to take a bit more of advantage of the time in the game.
Well, the gadget pop of the additives there for OP to keep him more in the mix, but the pinch was there between Nob and Mavius, and a swift takedown nonetheless. Rush just trying to zone off Mavius on the left-hand side now. Joker's taking a lot of shots from Nob, and again, this I was a bit on the fence with the Cordelius pick, and it's working out wondrously well so far. Look at this, though. The spike creep up to the safe, that's going to be a lot of damage. Surely that'll be a popping pinkish gadget from Rama, and it is 30% dealt already, and SK struggling on defense here.
Yeah, it's really dangerous to be in that position, and Nob now moving backwards. Nice little bubble there from OP to try and stop Mebius from advancing, but it's really not going to stop him for too long. OP trying to return, and Joker not able to get Rama down on the other side yet. Only got 5% damage, and really not looking too great on the defensive side either with Mebius spinning, but they do manage to clean it up. 39% still left on that safe, but it seems Shades maybe been taken down, or Rama's left it to one of his teammates.
Yeah, the scoreline definitely not as I was going to expect coming into this match. Much closer, and Team Electros really are working it wondrously well. I mean, the BB's not really as effective nearly as I was expecting for SK Gaming. Hypercharge is available for OP now, but whether he was able to land it onto the safe is a different story. Much on the defense for the majority of his time, it seems, and already Team Electros pushing themselves forward yet again, leaving Yoshi to defend a 1 versus 2 there as well. 28% down and dwindling more, so now getting the stun, it's a little glimmer. But SK Gaming can't leave anything untouched now on their defense. They've got to go on the offense and try to get the Trace to be able to land it. That's one down, but not on the right-hand side now. Full HP, blasting his way forwards, and SK's got to die for it.
Yeah, I mean, great defensive presence from Yoshi here, to be honest with you, but there's not much of this safe left, and Nob might be able to just hop straight over this wall if both of them go round, and he's going to go straight for that damage, but might be defended here as he goes into the realm with Yoshi, which is something that Yoshi maybe should be winning, but not finding the connections. And he's just going to come out of this realm right next to OP. He actually does get the kill just about, and OP and Joker might be able to push the rest of the team back to maybe push for a win here.
Yeah, Nob's doing wondrously well. He really is. I'm really sold now on this Cordelius pick. I can see exactly how effective it can be. It's keeping SK back the whole time and allowing a little bit of a breakthrough for the various other teammates to come through and get some damage. But now, SK with a little break, Joker getting super as well. But look at that. Again, Nob strength the realm. But then OP does get the trade-off. Some damage to the safe. Some good damage from SK Gaming now. And maybe it's going for a lunge on the left-hand side, going straight towards the safe. It's going to be a base race and a half here. One swap of the pickaxe. On the other side, it's a draw on the final seconds. Are you serious?
I think the pickaxe only got half of its hit in there as well. The 1% delta, it didn't return in time. That is a nightmare for Electros, but so close. SK just needed one more swipe, and clearly Joker couldn't get it. Died in the last second, and only one half of that pickaxe shot actually made the connection. And they were, I mean, I don't know who's better or worse off with that one, whether SK have just held on or if they should have won that one.
That was crazy, honestly. I didn't see that coming, in all fairness. I thought it was going to go one side or the other, but how often do you ever really get to see a draw in Heist? My goodness me. Well, let's see and still spectate. We're just waiting for it to come back now, but I've got full faith in this Team Electros roster in terms of brawler choices on the field. I feel like the Cordelius is working really well. I feel like the Shade is not working nearly as well by comparison for SK Gaming, and that's kind of what I was expecting to see a little bit coming with the Shade not being quite as prevalent, but at the moment, looking towards that spike, they're allowing the spike to get to the safe too much on the side of SK.
I mean, personally, I don't think Shade's the issue at all. I think the Shade's doing a good amount. They're really not able to get this BB into an aggressive position. I think that's the biggest issue for them. Joker getting a few swipes in there, and Yoshi trying to add a bit of damage to the safe, but not able to do too much, and Nob just returning to clean him up here, and all three members of Team Electros will start to move up the map. Rama down the right-hand side, and Joker just going to be alert to that and move over to his preferred matchup.
I'm looking forward to seeing the stats for me, for Nob, honestly. I really am. He's getting so many kills and just everywhere. It seems Hypercharge straight into OP again and good taps along the way. Getting him eradicated. Joker now making a lunge on the bottom right. Going for the safe, and now the Hypercharge maybe could be really quite lethal. Nice gadget as well. Going to be a lot of damage running in now for Team Electros. And SK Gaming now are starting to dwindle somewhat. Got something, some 79% of damage on the safe. Nice again for Mavis, stunned out though and double teamed. Nob all didn't quite connect there with the super, but we'll get some damage nonetheless.
So much work done here by Team Electros. Down to 34% with only 40 seconds left. Joker's going to sweep around the side and actually didn't get the connection before his super ran out. Now he's going to be in a tough position and goes down to Mebius once more. OP throws out the ball to keep him low, gets 2 shots on him there, uses the Hypercharge, thinks he might be able to get in range without dying, and just about gets it done. Hypercharge still there, and the bubble will be able to be thrown on safe. Joker picks up the spike, and there's still a chance for an SK comeback, but so much work still needs to be done.
20 seconds on the clock now as well. Nob again putting Yoshi into the realm. It's going to allow Mavis and Robert to come forwards with a lot of utility. Yoshi's low as well. Some good shots. He's going to get a pickaxe to the face on the way back here as well. Look at the damage raining in from Team Electros, and the SK safe is gone. They get it done. They get the set, and what a start from Team Electros against the team that won the February monthly finals.
I mean, SK not in a good position here whatsoever, just stuck on defense for the entire game. Yes, they might have had Joker up there, getting some damage in, getting the kills on the spike, but that's one person on the safe against 2 people. It's just not going to work out that way. Well, in SK's favour, I should say, and Team Electros really starting so strong. Some brilliant gameplay from them, and a very good draft as well.
Just one big question. How often have we guys actually casted a draw in Heist?
Couldn't tell you the exact number, but it's a rarity for sure.
It is so rare. In the end, the draft turned out to be either tank or tank counters, and Electros very quickly deviated away from the tank idea. It seemed like the correct choice, Trev.
I mean, yeah, this is the thing. Like I said during the game, I don't think Joker's really having too many issues. I think he's playing very well, but it was those defensive-sided brawlers that were having a bit of a tough time. Lou, against no tanks, isn't going to have the best of times on defense, and I think maybe they accounted for that maybe that little bit too early, in the BB as well. Not getting the damage on safe that we expected because she was just forced to play defense constantly. Real tough times there for the SK Gaming squad. I don't think they played bad. I think the draft just played straight into Team Electros' hands.
I'm still a massive fan of what Nobles brings to the table for me. I think that like going on the aggressive, getting everyone into the realm, and just being a real nuisance in the defense for SK, it just made them a bit flustered. I can see like a lot of damage from Joker on the Shade. I think it makes a lot of sense to have. I'm just still not necessarily sold on it as much as I am on other game modes, actually, ironically enough. But I feel like the Cordelius is definitely the reason why, for me, Team Electra's got the win. Just being a real problem and a thorn in the side of SK, and they just were not able to get the damage done.
They really weren't, even though the Shades did work out, as Trev mentioned, it didn't work out in the end to actually win this set. So our underdog, you could say, in this matchup, took the first set here. SK, I'm sure if we asked them right now, they would say, we're still motivated, all good, we just want to make it interesting, Trev.
Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what they'd say. Definitely. I mean, they won't be taking, anything to heart. It's the first set. There's still so much room to work with. Maybe if they go 2 sets down, they'll start to panic just a little bit. But knowing SK, they're going to be confident no matter how many sets down they are, unless it's 3, obviously, then they'll be out of the competition. But we are out in the open in knockout. A bit more calm, a bit more composed. Should be able to play to their strengths a bit more with just a bit more time and a bit more patience in this game.
We're heading into the draft here already. We see the bans, a lot of tanks out of the way, and Mr. P, of course, one of the best brawlers in knockout, probably. Brock as our first pick. Out in the open, you really only have 2 ways to play it. You either just walk all the way to the right as the whole team, try to push in mid, or you use the jump pad on the left, or you break the walls, which is usually the strat I try to go for as well, Orc.
Yeah, Brock first pick, love that. Also, the Buster Bands, really underrated one that I love from SK Gaming. Normally, I would be looking to get a Pearl now since that Buster Band's there, because that's the biggest thorn in her side, in my opinion. Kit Band as well, just really good bands, I think, from SK. And ones that you don't really expect. Hank, though, yeah, left open. Yeah, I didn't have time to process that one coming through, and that's a bit of a blunder for me, a little bit from SK. It's a really tough thing to play into. The hypercharge, just no hiding from it whatsoever. So already that's a really tough thing to looking down the barrel of. If they can take care of this comp, then I mean, all credit only. Yeah, the Hank first pick is going to be a very scary thing now for SK. They cannot afford to get stuck in that spawn.
Yeah, and they've got the Byron along with it as well, so even if he wants to step out, take a few risks, try and get his super built up by hitting some shots, Byron's going to be able to keep him topped up on the health, unless they had any heavy damage dealers to this SK side, which can leave them a bit open at the range. Then it's going to be a tough game for them. The hypercharge can just wipe them off the map, closing seconds, even in the early game, if that's what he's got, then they're just going to home in and kill the players. They're going to take the B. I think that's probably about as good as they could have done against the tankiness of the Hank, while still being able to compete at range.
Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't put it past them to get a max combining with that as well, because mobility combining with the B would help out a great deal. But yeah, the B's a solid response. It's definitely the best thing they can really hope for at this present moment in time. The Brock will be able to open things up as well, so they've got some options to be able to have on the lane side, in the middle area of the map at least, to be able to get out. People, yeah, that's a great shout actually, now I think about that. We saw just how strong that was in East Asia as well, and that is a much better shout than the Max. I feel that might have swayed my decision. I know that Hank is a really scary elephant in the room here, but I dare to say that Maple's actually better here. Certainly with the gadget, you can just break open the middle immediately. That crossover in the bush is so important to be able to establish, and in this map, if you've locked off the map, you can't go anywhere. You're completely stuck. So I don't really know what Piper's going to be able to do against that. You're sure they can break the walls if they've got super, but if they have got the super, then I mean this beginning starting motion, if they get this Maple gadget on point, is going to put SK Gaming into a good position early on.
Yeah, I mean, I just think they needed something to be able to compete at range. Otherwise, they're going to be, having issues in the early game no matter what. Yeah, Hank's going to be able to do some good stuff late game, but if they don't have something with a bit more DPS at range than the Byron, they're going to be having issues anyway. So I don't mind the Piper against kind of the B and the Brock to be able to actually have a fight. But yeah, it can struggle in certain positions and definitely don't want to be getting pushed back. But then again, they're the team who wants to be on the aggressive, right?
There you go, straight away. Not quite in the best of placements. Maybe it's to still maneuver behind it and actually use it as cover there. So one tile out there from Joker, but nonetheless, it's push things back somewhat. Brock again, that's not the key brawler pick for me. The first pick, Brock, I can understand. Favouring over the Hank, that's a bit of a heavy question to ask really in this kind of meta, but so far SK on the back ropes as well, and maybe it does win the left-hand side lane, trade with about 300 HP, so already now giving a disadvantage towards SK.
Yeah, I mean, it's great stuff from Mebius over there to be able to win that 1v1. Puts them in a position to actually be able to win this, because the B and the Brock have been keeping Rama back so well, and now they're in the back lines. They might start to have some issues, especially when Mebius pinching around this left-hand side, and the Brock super is going to miss as well. Also, not really breaking up too much for side. And OP back in the right-hand spawn, Nob going to throw out a gadget towards that, and Rama does eventually get healed up, and we see OP did go down as well, and Yoshi heading towards the gas, not wanting to feed Rama anything at all, and who can blame him?
Yeah, you do not want Rama to get a hypercharge, because it's pretty much a team wipe at this stage. There's not really much you can hide behind, and it seems that anywhere on the map you're going to go down to it. So certainly that is the thought on the minds of SK here. I think that this comp can still work, and now they've broken up more of the map and got some area control. The problem is the cooldown of that gadget is 20 seconds for Meeple, so if Joker can stay on his feet a little bit longer this time round, that will help out massively, as he went down quite prematurely in the last round. But let's see, this is looking better from SK. Hypercharge now available there for Yoshi also, so a much better position early on.
Yeah, it is very nice from them, and Hank gonna have a tough position trying to get out of the spawn, as if he walks through the choke points, he's just gonna get peppered down so fast. But at the moment, it's still them heavily in control, and Mebius doesn't get boxed up here, which is going to help them massively, considering they had that Meeple super as well. Super from Brock on the right-hand side. Rocket Rain. Rama's going to jump in. Maybe going to use the super, but might want to hold it for when he's got hypercharge. OP just narrowly surviving, and Rama pretty much all alone. I'm not sure what he can do in this situation. He is going to go down, but every time he gets hit, he's working closer and closer to that super.
Yeah, this is the problem. He might very well get this in this round. A mid-break there for Mavis as well is going to open things up a big time and deflate what Meeple can bring to the table for SK. Hypercharge there available for OPE yet again. If you can connect that, it's going to provide a lot of slow and some big heavy taps onto Rama, and hopefully eradicate him prior to his hypercharge. So there's a lot going on, and this round has got a lot of stakes considering the SKL behind here.
Yeah, we're going to see the B hypercharge coming in eventually as well. Great taps from Mebius, sending the opposing team into the spawn this time, which is a great position for Rama to be in. Gets boxed though, and the super's there as well. Rama might be able to survive this, and somehow uses his super to get the survive through. And Byron heals keep him alive as well. Does have the hypercharge, but surely shouldn't be able to get his super back in this amount of time. Yoshi takes some fire, splash comes through. Great trade from Nob, but Rama no heals now. He is against the Meeple, also might be able to heal up and just allow Mebius to do what he does best and hit these shots, but finding nothing so far. Boxed in again, and he's made it a 1v1 against Mebius, who's avoiding shots nicely, but Rama now coming back in, hypercharge activated, and goodbye Meeple. As soon as he gets out, he goes down. Electros extending the lead further.
The amount of damage that Hank soaked up was absolutely disgusting. I mean, it really was. But who would have thought that we'd be in this position right now with SK just struggling to get anything really on the board? Just around so far. And it's not looking fantastic for them. I think this comp can still work, but these eliminations have got to be faster and swifter. They've got to get these rounds over faster, because the Hank being the biggest threat there. And like you mentioned, the longer that they are soaking damage into it, the more closer that Rama gets to a hypercharge.
Yeah, I mean,
so it's tough.
Yeah, I was going to say, no matter, like, he's going to be pretty happy about the rounds going quite long. He's going to be happier if they win them, but if he's just soaking up damage, getting his hypercharge, if it's 1-1, they're going to be in a very good position in the late game. But this is a very tough position now, but no one's able to shoot him as the Meeple has no super. So even if they've boxed him, they can't do anything about it.
Depending upon Yoshi having the Rocket Rain at that point in time, and we already saw that didn't quite work out enough to dismay. They're going to get Nob really taken care of. That's the key really to this comp, is keeping Rama alive. So if they can get rid of Nob early on, but they're not really focusing their attention on him, that's the problem. Misconnection there from OP as well. Bit of a slow onto Nob, however, and that might prove costly. Nice taps from Yoshi, but it's still not enough. Now the Rocket Rain, and Rama's still alive. Nob's still there. At the moment, Team Electric is just invincible at this stage.
I mean, Mebius doesn't need any heals. He's just doing them anyway. It's like just walking up and getting a kill whilst his two teammates are getting absolutely battered by the others. And all three members of Electros survive. We did see a little bit of a Hank super in there to keep him alive with the heal that comes along with it. But how have they won from that position?
I mean, it's crazy. Just the survivability is insane at this point. And I feel like they're just got to take care of Nob. It's a really good pick. This Byron I didn't quite see coming, combined with the Hank, is just a perfect scenario, because Hank is so hard to take care of on his own. And if Nob continues the accuracy, look at that. Now SK is starting to realize that and really focus him. But I feel like it's a matter of time. As everything they throw at them, that's not the greatest of gadgets either. They were getting some good damage into the Hank there, and now they've got to slow the advance. So he's just there the whole time. Rama is the problem, and Nob is keeping him in the conversation.
I mean, Rama can't be far off a hypercharge now. I feel like he's taking so much damage and already used the super. There you go, he's got it now. And the player's already gone down. Joker's died, leaving Rama in a good position to just hypercharge this. The snipes go through, doesn't get the cycle, but they're all so low. Brock goes down, and OPE will be right behind him. Oh, he should be right behind him. He had a little bit of a chance in there, but Team Electros do eventually win the set. And what a play that was. What a draft.
Yeah, I mean, just to remind everyone at home, if you are joining the stream a little bit late, we did say coming in as opening statements that this is the hardest region to predict for. So if you are struggling here, we feel you.
That we are losing those champions in the quarterfinals already.
I don't want to jinx it, to be honest. At the moment, we need to see more from SK. It's coming down to draft at the moment for me. It really is. I think the heist draft was spot on in favor of Electros. I think that they've really missed the trick with the Hank and not banning it out as you should. I mean, at this stage, it's no secret. If you're leaving Hank open, prepare to lose, in my opinion, and you kind of deserve to, because it should just be literally, if you don't have that coin toss, an insta ban and then work out everything around it. It's safer to do it that way than it is to do it any other way. I don't see why you wouldn't at this point. I think that very, very few people in the world are going to have an answer to Frank. To Hank, sorry. yeah.
I was about to say, just make sure to ban out Hank here. Team Electros is banning him themselves because SK Gaming actually has the first pick here. Now, this is a very interesting map. We have those bushy lane on the left-hand side. You could place a penny turret there. Usually you want to play Ember into it to just burn those bushes down, but both of those brawlers haven't really been showing up recently in the draft. What we've seen yesterday already is just playing Stu. Great idea from SK Gaming with the speed zone and just dodge the incoming shots from the opponent's draft.
Yeah, Stu's a great pick. I love this Stu pick early on from SK Gaming. So versatile. The mobility that it brings, that allows you to get in and out of people's ranges so fast, and obviously the hypercharge, getting into the back lines, getting into great positions is just what Stu does best. So we'll see if Team Electros are able to match this with their first two picks and start this draft off strong. B, great shout. I love B. Stopping them from playing the more tankier things. Obviously Berry banned out of the way, so it makes it a bit more difficult to play the likes of a Frank or something like that in the mid here, but B amplifies that even more because of how strong she is against tanks. Well, not that it made really a difference in the last round because Hank was just walking over her and getting healed up, but we see Team Electros are able to add something that strengthens this comp even more as their second pick should be coming rolling through shortly.
Potentials. I mean, Stu's first pick, I think it's a really good starting hand for SK. I think it's always been on this map a really prevalent brawler, and in this meta even more so. So I don't mind it. I think the Bees actually going to have a hard time connecting shots with that speed zone, which is surely going to be the gadget of choice for SK. Byron, though, is a scary brawler to see. Hank is banned, though, so I'm not as scared by it. But, I mean, we've seen how, this is clearly a brawler pick that Team Electros have put to good use in their scrims. And, there's other brawlers that can still be equally as forceful if they get the Frank coming in. And that could also be a problem. Berry's being banned out and the Poco too, so little of an opportunity for SK to have a similar strategy. We saw that a lot last month. Janet coming in though is a good brawler for SK, no doubt about it. As the hypercharge has elevated this brawler into such a fantastic place in the meta, but I'm worried for this final pick, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, Janet is another great brawler, but Team Electros, what they've got here, I think it's very, very solid as well, and is more than capable of dealing with a Janet. Pam going to come roll on it. It's been a while.
Maybe I'm not worried about this final pick.
Listen, I love Pam. One of my favourite brawlers. And when this map was a competitive map, we saw Pam so much, but she's just been out the meta for a while, and I'm intrigued to see if this is going to be something that this map at least is something that's going to be able to bring her back. Stu, not much damage. Janet, not much damage. we might have a few issues with the Bell bouncing back and forwards between the turret, but I don't hate the Pam too much.
Yeah, I'm doing her dirty. She was always good here, and this could be a really good pick actually for Electros, because I think the teams have forgotten the fact that she was always this good on this map. And I worry a bit for SK with the Byron as well. That's double heal. Quite scary stuff. Really going to be depending a lot on the speed zone to dance around the shots and not feed into the B. But certainly Pam, yeah, it's quite fearsome, honestly. And it's a strange Brawl to see. We haven't seen her for such a long time now, and any of the metas that we've seen throughout the last year, really. So a really bold pick from Electros, and I like it.
Yeah, I do love it, and you can see that he's running that healing star power as well whilst hitting the shots. And although we pivot back to the game, and SK seem to have a firm grip, and OP mid-air must have just got a kill, and Yoshi and Joker feeling pretty comfortable as well in this position. Looking good. SK definitely starting this one off in a strong fashion. They need to, being in the position that they are. 2 sets down against a fairly strong Electros draft. You've got to be playing very well.
Yeah, trying to get the spectate back now, and Joker with a hypercharge going straight into their Nob. He's going to be burning down now and all the way to his death as well. Good stuff from SK. Rama low as well. Good from SK. Generally just clearing up house, and a good amount of percentiles on the zone as well. 60% and climbing now. So looking really, really good for me. Speed zone very aggressive. Going to be taken care of very quickly by Rama there. So not too sure. I think just to keep the momentum going for SK and stay on the zone for as long as they can. Now, though, this is the chance for Electros to pop some of these nest eggs, get themselves back into the game, because quite a big climb to make now. SK put a lot of time in the zone.
Yeah, they're just going to have to try and establish maybe a bit of a higher Pam turret and move up the map, try lock them in spawn and have Pam scout out this bush pretty well, but he's still scanning the top end of it when OP's returned all the way to the back, so probably wasting quite a lot of ammo on scanning that out rather than hitting the opponents with it. But the Rattle Hive is in use as well by maybe it's over the left-hand side, so we'll see if Pam's able to get a turret and keep control of this, or if SK Gaming are going to push back into a strong position, which I don't doubt they'll be able to. All it takes is a few stew dashes into the back spawn, or if he gets another hypercharge, it could be a big issue as well.
The problem for me is that SK are going to be so flustered now. The pressure's going to be mounting in this set. They're going to be feeling it. You can see Joker there as well, quite exasperated by it. Looks like it was quite a close finale. They may have got the game. We'll find out in just a moment. But SK did get it, and yeah, just sweaty hands there. You can see this is not a position that SK used to find themselves in. They're going to have to dig themselves out of a big hole. You can see the OP there. The OP there looking a little bit better for that, and giving some words to his teammate. And that's really what you want to see from SK now. They can't afford to lose this. They really can't. Even just a game, it could be crucial.
Yeah, I mean, Joker just powering forwards, trying to get the super, and Rama not having the best of times against the Janet. Really difficult to be able to avoid those shots, so going to be relying quite heavily on Nob healing him up here, but he's focusing on just the aggression at the moment and getting some shots in and hitting a good amount of them, to be spared. Splash comes in too and gets the kill. Joker going to be looking to try and get towards Rama, but some more heals from Nob will keep them in the mix.
Yeah, much better start, really, from Team Electros now. Joker coming in, good taps into Rama, didn't quite land the last one. Speed zone yet again, and he needs to be able to get that, yeah, the Gasser heal really rolling in now to stay alive on this zone. Yeah, Rama finds him at a weak period and then does secure it. Mismark there from Yoshi as well. So tough from SK behind now slightly, and Rattled Hives coming in yet again from Mabius, and this is where you start to worry a little bit about the nature of this game. SK have got a little glimmer of a hope now. They've got to bring this back under control.
Yeah, 3 people came on the right-hand side there. Maybe he's going to place that in his face and tank one of the shots. Joker now eventually able to move around, but will go down. Great taps from both Nob and Rama to keep them in the mix here, and he's got another turret as well, and the percentage still ticking up for them. OP's going to be in the air, which, yeah, he might be able to drop some bombs, get some damage in, but he's going to be out of the way whilst doing so, and Rama quite low, but a good percentage lead, around 40%, as Mebius continues to tap away and has a hypercharge. And if he uses it in a position like this, it's going to be a very good one. Here you go, using it now, but all tanked. Actually, OP does get hit by it, but he's just going to take to the sky and wait it out.
Yeah, OP is playing fantastically well. You can see just how many bombs he dropped there onto Nob and the healing station, but now it's the last man standing for Joker, dancing around the situation, putting fire everywhere that he possibly can, but it's not going to be enough here. And Team Electros are still climbing in the percentages now towards 100%. 95 now. SK have got to shut this down immediately. They've done so, but Nob is going to be able to heal up and then try and force things back. Even so, SK have got to hold off the entire time. And now with Yoshi going down, it's just going to be Joker on his own. There's nothing he's going to be able to do now. Rushing the zone is going to be Electros, and they get it. They move on to match point, and this is a serious red alert for SK. They've got to wake up. The monthly final champions of February are about to fall in the quarterfinals unless they turn things around.
And I mean, not just about to fall, they're about to get swept. That is absolutely crazy. We're in the quarterfinals, if you're just joining, guys. We're in the quarterfinals, and SK Gaming are on the brink of getting swept by Team Electros, who are a very notable team, extremely good players, but they shouldn't be sweeping SK this hard.
Yeah, they shouldn't. They really shouldn't. I mean, this roster, of course, goes back many a year, and they had some great success in the past, but who would have expected this coming into March? I mean, this is like not on my bingo card at all, and you know, I had SK to win this month, just for context, so I'm definitely sweating a little bit now myself, and SK, again, flustered, not themselves, and they know it. I feel like with the momentum that Team Electros have got, and the comps, the drafts have been absolutely on point, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it is really, really good stuff. I will say, you know, for the start of this game, SK seemed in a pretty strong position. So we'll see if the Team Electros are going to be able to drag stuff back. But Rama there, he looked quite calm, composed, to be honest with you. So they have managed to drag it back into a good position for them. But still battling it out to see if they're going to be sent home or if they're going to be advancing this just one step further. It's still going to be 2-1 to Electros. They're still going to be in a good position. But it is fairly even.
Yeah, so close to call. OP again, taking the skies, and Joker there, the hypercharge, as we saw previously, just putting as much on the map as he can to really deter the situation. Very nest eggs as well in the zone is nice. Time spent by Yoshi. Everyone's low here except for Joker though, so OP and Yoshi have got to stay standing on their feet to be able to bring this one back under control. They've got 74%. That's a good solid start. If they can just get this set and find something to put on the board here, it will just delay a little bit of time in their favor. And it looks like with a big side from Yoshi, that might have been the case, because I'm sure that would have been otherwise a very different face and reaction that we'd seen. Joker there just hydrating up, and SK do win it, so we're going to be continuing on. And what a sigh of relief that must be, that OJ has never tasted so sweet.
Yeah, he loves a glass of OJ, that lad, as well. I swear I see him every time he's on a camera, he's sipping that OJ. So maybe it's definitely, I mean, it needs to be a good luck charm, a glass of OJ, for them to be able to drag this one back, because that was about as close as ever. You got backed against the wall, match point in your opposition's favor. SK need absolutely everything they can get at the moment, because even winning that set, it wasn't convincing, which means they're going to have to drag 2 sets more whilst fighting off Team Electros only needing 1.
I could use a little bit of a refreshment now as well. Honestly, what a match this has been so far. It proves once again how competitive, how volatile the EMEA region is. Within just 1 month, things can change so drastically. I need a breather after this arc.
Yeah, you and me both, honestly. You can see that as well. Joker really just bringing the objective for his team there. And that's kind of what you expect. It's the first pick brawler for a reason. And SK didn't hesitate to snap that one up in that regard. So, again, a much better draft from SK. Still a very close game, and I think that just goes to show just how much of the competition Team Electros are bringing to the equation. Look at this from Nob, from OPE rather, here onto Nob. The amount of bombs that he was landing there on the turret and him, and still it meant that, you know, it took so much to get the takedown there. For SK, you know, this was a battle and a half to win this set, and it's far from over.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy.
It really was, Trev. Janet is a brawler that we haven't really seen come out of many teams, but SK Gaming already have been playing her in the February monthly finals. I do remember some moments where OP showed us off how good she really is now with her hypercharge. In general, you can say Electros has definitely what it takes to beat SK Gaming today. It would be a huge upset to already lose our February monthly final winner in the quarterfinals, but honestly, they would deserve it.
Yeah, I mean, they're hitting the mark, really, for Electros at the moment. And, you know, again, it's not the craziest of rosters, one that we've seen many a time over the year, bringing some great results. It's not like an up-and-comer to me, necessarily. It's a roster formation that we haven't seen for, 17 months? So, you know, just getting that synergy was my only reservation coming into this matchup. And I was wrong to think it. They just look as good as they always did. From memory, they never actually won the monthly finals, I think, I'm fair to say, but they got into the grand finals in the past. So, I mean, they're looking like that team could be the same today, in all honesty. It's quite unexpected. But we saw last month SK reverse sweeping, you know, so this is something which is in their abilities, for sure. In that regard, it was for esports in the semi-finals. So, you know, they have been under pressure, and they've been able to surpass it, and not only that, but get to the grand finals and win the whole thing off the back of it. So they're going to be now thinking back to that time and digging deep.
heading into the draft now, Trev. We see OP, the brains behind SK Gaming's draft. Let's see if he can cook here.
I mean, I hope for their sake that they do. Team Electro's still in a pretty commanding position, but yeah, the ban's good across the board. I always very happy about seeing a Mr. P ban, and especially on a map like this. Nita is the first pick though. Can be quite easily outranged down the lanes, I feel, but it's very versatile. Good against some mid-range brawlers, good against tanks. You know, you're in safe hands with a Nita.
First pick worthy though. I don't know, but certainly it's not a bad one at all for me. Looking ahead as well, Meeple's not banned here, so that could certainly be on the minds of SK now. We saw Shade as well. I mean, we already saw SK taking a leaf out of Zace's book from East Asia in pit stop. It could be the case that they like what they saw in Hard Rock Mine as well as the final pick potentially here. Stu picked up as well as the Lou. So yeah, I quite like it. The Lou might not get the value though if there's not really much tank to be seen on the side of Electros.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel Lou's maybe a little bit of a weird pick on Hard Rock Mine, if you ask me. It can work, don't get me wrong, it very much can. But as you say, with no tanks, it can definitely have some issues too. Still, a lot of good brawlers left on the board. Stuff like a Rico is still there for the taking. Obviously, Team Electros heavily in need of a mid, whereas, technically SK have two that they can use. They're going to go with the kit. Wild, if you ask me.
Wild.
It can work. But it also can't sometimes.
It's going to depend heavily upon what it's connecting with. I don't think that's why I'm holding my breath for this final pick. There's certainly a lot of places to hide in this map and cross over with the cardboard box gadgets, so I can understand that for sure. But really where Kit thrives is by connecting with another brawler to be a real issue. Normally like a Daryl or something, but it's not going to have that strategy at all, not even close. The Gene's going to be 100% playing mid. You just kind of expect to combine with a Daryl or a Melody or a Frank or something to cause a bigger problem. So, but I trust it. That's the thing with Team Electros today. Like, regardless of seeing it and questioning it, I sort of trust that they've experimented with it and it's tried and tested. That's the problem that I was expecting to maybe see on the side of Electros, honestly, from SK Gaming here. So, I still question this loop pick. It was first pick. Maybe they saw something in the scrim data that they didn't like in that regard, and a brawler pick which they were scared around, and it changed the sway of action. But yeah, now I'm kind of questioning how this loop's going to fit in.
Yeah, I'm feeling the same way. I do feel like they've got quite a lack of DPS for the old Frank though, but